the AGT champion and winner of $1 million is Richard Goodall!
As the confetti settled and Richard Goodall was crowned the winner of America's Got Talent Season 19, fans rejoiced at the former janitor's triumphant victory. The $1 million prize, touted as the ultimate reward for the winner, seemed like a life-changing windfall. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly straightforward prize lies a complex web of fine print and financial intricacies that can significantly impact the winner's take-home pay. You see, there's a catch. A big one. The AGT disclaimer, that tiny text that flashes by at the end of each episode, reveals the shocking truth. The $1 million prize is actually paid out in a financial annuity over 40 years. That means Richard won't receive a lump sum of $1 million. Instead, he'll get smaller payments over decades. So, is Richard really a millionaire? Let's dive into the fine print and uncover the real story behind this seemingly life-changing victory. Richard Goodall captured hearts across America when he stepped on the grand stage of America's Got Talent, AGT, in Season 19. His story was one of humble beginnings, a school janitor from a small town who had a dream. He didn't just come with a voice. He came with a dream so big it felt contagious. His journey, from his stunning audition to his victorious moment in the finale, was the stuff that dreams were made of. But beneath the glamour of confetti raining down and cheers roaring through the auditorium, a darker truth lurked behind the scenes. Winning America's Got Talent is often seen as a ticket to stardom, a promise of $1 million prize and an opportunity to change one's life forever. But for Richard Goodall, that dream of walking away with a life-changing fortune might not be the reality he or anyone else imagined. This isn't just a story about talent and triumph. It's a tale of the undercurrents beneath the glittering facade of reality television, where promises of grandeur are often far more complicated than they appear. For Richard, the road to that $1 million prize isn't as straightforward as it seems. What went wrong? Why might he not walk away with the grand prize he rightfully earned? In this narration, we explore the twists and turns of Richard's journey, the hidden realities behind AGT's $1 million prize, the fine print that contestants rarely notice, and the obstacles that have cast doubt on whether Richard Goodall will truly be a millionaire. Before the world knew him as the AGT winner, Richard Goodall was living a modest life in Indiana, working as a school janitor. His life was simple, but not without its struggles. He was known in his community as a kind, hard-working man who had spent years cleaning classrooms and hallways, all while harboring a secret passion for music. For years, Richard sang quietly in the background, performing at small local venues or singing to the children at his school during lunch breaks. But in his heart, he always believed he had the potential for something bigger. When Richard finally auditioned for America's Got Talent, no one could have predicted the reaction that would follow. From the first note he sang, his voice cut through the air with raw emotion, immediately moving both the audience and the judges. His audition was more than just a performance. It was a moment that resonated deeply with viewers, who saw in him a reflection of their own hopes and dreams. He wasn't a polished professional. He was a regular man with an extraordinary gift. The judges gave him a standing ovation, and Simon Cowell's notoriously critical demeanor softened as he praised Richard's authentic talent. The media quickly latched onto his backstory. Richard, the janitor with a golden voice. He became a symbol of perseverance, proof that dreams could come true for anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. Week after week, Richard continued to amaze, delivering powerful performances that solidified his place as a frontrunner in the competition. But behind Richard's humble story was a growing pressure. His sudden rise to fame was overwhelming. The demands of the show, the scrutiny from the media, and the expectations of millions began to weigh on him. What the audience didn't see was the toll it was taking on Richard's mental health. And as the season progressed, a gnawing question began to form in the background. Would Richard be able to handle the life-changing consequences of winning, and more importantly, was the $1 million prize all that it was promised to be? The illusion of the $1 million prize. The $1 million prize on America's Got Talent is often presented as the ultimate reward, a life-changing fortune that will instantly transform the winner's life. For many viewers, the idea that a contestant can go from an everyday person to a millionaire overnight is one of the most captivating aspects of the show. But like many things in the world of television, reality doesn't always match the story being told on screen. The truth about the AGT Grand Prize is more complicated than most realize. Although the show heavily markets the idea of a $1 million cash prize, the payout isn't as straightforward. In fact, the prize is not a lump sum of $1 million at all. Instead, it is structured as an annuity that is paid out over 40 years. Yes, 40 years. That means that each year, the winner receives $25,000 before taxes. For someone like Richard, who entered the competition thinking he was about to become an instant millionaire, this detail can be quite the shock. And while a guaranteed $25,000 a year might seem appealing at first glance, it's hardly the life-changing fortune that most people envision. When you factor in taxes, the annual payout shrinks even further. The reality is, for someone like Richard Goodall, the promise of $1 million prize might never materialize in the way he had hoped. There is also the option for the winner to take a lump sum payment instead of the annuity, but that payout is significantly less, typically somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 after taxes. While that's still a substantial amount of money, it's a far cry from the $1 million that contestants believe they are competing for. For Richard, who had hoped to use his winnings to retire from his janitorial job and pursue music full-time, the financial reality of the prize was a major disappointment. But the complications didn't end there. As Richard soon discovered, there were additional hurdles to overcome when it came to claiming his prize. From legal issues to contractual obligations, the journey to the $1 million payout was anything but simple. The fine print and legal battles. Like all contestants on America's Got Talent, Richard had to sign a series of contracts and agreements before he could even step on the stage. These contracts, often filled with complex legal jargon, outline the terms of the competition, the prize, and the obligations that come with winning. For most contestants, including Richard, the excitement of being on the show overshadows the need to carefully review every detail of the contract. After all, who thinks about the fine print when they're chasing a dream? But for Richard, the consequences of not fully understanding the contract would soon become apparent. After winning the competition, one of the biggest issues revolved around the management contract that all winners are required to sign. Under this contract, the show's producers have the right to manage the winner's career for a set period of time. This means that any decisions regarding performances, appearances, and even recordings must be approved by the producers. For Richard, who had hoped to have creative control over his music career, this was a major roadblock. The contract also stipulated that a portion of Richard's earnings from performances and endorsements would go to the show's producers. This further reduced the amount of money he could potentially earn from his newfound fame. And with the prize money already being less than expected, these additional financial obligations only added to Richard's frustration. As Richard tried to navigate these legal battles, he realized that winning AGT came with far more strings attached than he had anticipated. His dream of becoming a full-time musician was now at the mercy of legal contracts and corporate interests. The publicity trap. Winning America's Got Talent brought Richard Goodall into the public eye in a way he had never experienced before. Overnight, he became a household name, and with that fame came a new set of challenges. Suddenly, his life was no longer private. The media began to dig into his past, and every aspect of his life was scrutinized by both fans and critics. While the attention initially seemed like a blessing, it soon became overwhelming. Richard was constantly bombarded with requests for interviews, appearances, and performances. But with his newfound fame came a loss of control. His schedule was no longer his own, and the demands of the entertainment industry began to take a toll on his mental and physical health. The media also began to focus on his financial situation, with some outlets questioning whether Richard would ever see the full $1 million prize. Headlines like, "Will Richard Goodall ever get his million?" and "The truth behind AGT's prize money" began to circulate, casting doubt on the legitimacy of the show's promises. As Richard struggled to maintain his privacy and manage his newfound fame, the reality of the situation became clear. Winning AGT had brought him more challenges than he had ever anticipated. The dream of financial freedom and creative control seemed further away than ever. The struggles of a small-town star. For Richard Goodall, the transition from small-town janitor to national celebrity was anything but smooth. While he had dreamed of sharing his music with the world, the reality of life after AGT was far more complicated. The demands of his new career, combined with the legal battles and financial disappointments, left Richard feeling overwhelmed and disillusioned. One of the biggest challenges Richard faced was the pressure to keep up with the fast-paced world of show business. In the months following his victory, he was expected to produce new music, book performances, and maintain a presence in the media. But for someone who had spent his entire life working in a quiet school, the sudden shift to the spotlight was jarring. Richard also struggled with the isolation that came with his new life. While he had once been surrounded by supportive friends and family, in his small town, he now found himself constantly on the road, away from the...
You know that moment, right? Like when the confetti's falling everywhere on America's Got Talent, and the winner's trying not to cry, and they're being promised like $1 million, and it's supposed to change their life. We're going to figure out if that promise is real today.
Sounds exciting.
We've got these articles, right? The unseen consequences of reality TV, fame, and fortune. They dig deep into what happens after you win AGT.
Like what really happens, not just the happy ending we see on TV.
Exactly. Like, is that $1 million for real? Or is there a catch?
Right.
We're going to find out. Okay, let's be real. When we think AGT winner, we picture that $1 million prize. Am I right?
It's like the ultimate symbol of making it.
Totally. But these articles, they paint a different picture.
Yeah, it's not as simple as it seems. The $1 million, it's not like they just hand it over. The articles talk about how winners get a choice. They can take the $1 million over 40 years.
40 years? Wow.
Yeah, 40 years as an annuity, or they can go for a lump sum. But Forbes, back in 2016, they crunched the numbers, and it turns out...
What'd they find out?
The lump sum. It's more like $300,000 after taxes.
Wait, so you win $1 million, but you might only get a third of it? What's the deal with that?
It's all about the present-day value, apparently. Forbes took inflation and stuff like that into account.
Because $1 million today won't be worth as much in 40 years, right?
Exactly. So the lump sum, it's basically giving you all the money up front, but it's got to be less because of taxes and all.
That makes sense. But why even do it this way? Why not just, give them the $1 million?
Well, these articles, they get into the whole business side of reality TV. And it turns out those shows, crazy expensive.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Sets, crews, what the judges get paid, it adds up fast. So spreading out the prize money like that, it helps cover those costs.
Makes sense. So the prize money is kind of like part of the show's budget almost.
Exactly. Plus, let's be real, that whole $1 million thing, it's great marketing, but it's not all about the show. Getting the money over 40 years, that could actually be good for the winner.
How so?
It's like a safety net, steady income. Because let's be honest, the entertainment world, not exactly known for being stable.
True that.
So yeah, maybe it's not the instant riches people imagine, but it's a whole lot smarter than blowing it all at once.
I see your point. But the money, it's just one piece of the puzzle, isn't it? These articles, they talk about something way more valuable. Opportunity. So what kind of opportunities are we talking about here? We're talking about like doors opening because millions of people just saw you do your thing.
Okay.
Like remember Grace Vanderwall, the ukulele player, won season 11, what was that, 2016?
And now she's going to be in a movie, a big one, coming out next year.
Right.
Perfect example of what we were talking about. AGT, it's like a starting line, not the finish line.
Totally. Or Adrian Stoica, he was season 18 with his dog, Hurricane, and now they're doing shows in Vegas, the America's Got Talent presence, superstars. This whole thing, it's like, how the articles say springboard for a lasting career? They're not kidding.
And that's what's so interesting. It's not just about winning and becoming super famous overnight. It's what you do after that matters. The articles talk about strategy, like you need a plan.
So being amazing on stage isn't enough.
It's just the beginning. These articles, they're all about building a brand, like your talent. That's your product. But AGT's the platform.
Okay, I get the platform part, but how do you actually market yourself after AGT? What does that even look like?
It's all about, creating an image, something people remember, something that makes you stand out. Some winners, they use social media like crazy. Others, they put out albums, go on tour. Remember those dance crews that won?
Oh, yeah. Tons of them.
They turn that AGT fame into a whole business. Touring, selling merchandise, you name it.
They got to make the most of those 15 minutes, huh?
Exactly. But here's the thing, and the articles talk about this too, not every winner becomes a huge star. Some of them, they just fade away.
Yeah, you got to wonder what that's like.
Right. These articles, they show both sides. Some winners, they build these amazing careers. Others, they go back to their regular lives. There's one story, I think it was a singer, season 13. They ended up going back to their old life, found out that fame wasn't all it was cracked up to be.
Wow. Guess it goes to show, fame isn't for everyone.
And it comes at a price, that's for sure. The articles talk about the pressure, the constant attention, the whole emotional toll. It takes a lot of strength to handle it all. And even then, having people you can rely on, friends, family, someone to keep you grounded, that's huge.
Makes you think about the contestants, right? Like, do they really know what they're getting into?
It's a good question. I mean, $1 million and being on TV, that's tempting. But like we said, it's complicated. These articles, they really emphasize self-awareness. You got to know your strengths, but also your limits and what you really want out of this whole thing.
So it's like two competitions in one almost.
Kind of, yeah. There's the one on stage showing off your talent, but then there's the one after the show. That's when you're really fighting to make it in the long run.
And that second one, that's got to be way tougher.
It takes a lot. Talent's not enough. You need strategy, connections, and yeah, a little bit of luck never hurts either.
Speaking of luck, it's cool how some of these winners, they use their fame for good.
Oh, yeah, totally. They become like spokespeople for causes they care about. They raise awareness, donate money.
Which brings us back to our original question. Is winning AGT life-changing?
100%. But like we've been saying, it's not just about the money or even the fame. It's the opportunities that come with it. And how the winners use those opportunities, well, that's up to them.
So the real prize is something way bigger than $1 million, huh?
Exactly. It's the chance to create your own success, however you define that. And that's something we can all think about, even if we're not on AGT. What are our own opportunities, and how can we use them to make our lives better?
Deep stuff.
Huh.
But before we get too philosophical, we got to talk about the human side of all this. The articles, they tell the stories of past winners. And let me tell you, those stories, they are all over the place. It's like we flipped over that $1 million check and found a whole novel written on the back.
And each chapter is unique. These articles don't shy away from showcasing the diverse realities of past AGT winners. Some become household names, others gracefully return to their previous lives. Some struggle, while others thrive beyond their wildest dreams.
It really drives home the point that there's no single formula for success after AGT, or maybe even in life itself.
What's fascinating is how these articles highlight the importance of self-awareness. Knowing your own strengths, limits, and aspirations is crucial when navigating the whirlwind that follows a victory like AGT.
It's like that saying, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, but also the bigger the potential for, let's call it a plot twist.
Exactly. And that's where having a strong support system, whether it's family, friends, or a trusted mentor, becomes invaluable. The articles mention how vital it is for winners to have someone to ground them, to remind them of their values and priorities when the noise of the industry gets too loud.
It takes a village to raise a star, as they say. But it's not just about managing the downsides. These articles also celebrate the winners who use their platform for good, amplifying important causes and inspiring others.
Absolutely. There's one particular story that comes to mind about a winner from a few seasons back who used their platform to advocate for mental health awareness. They were very open about their own struggles, which resonated deeply with viewers.
It's a powerful reminder that influence can be a tool for positive change, reaching far beyond just entertainment.
Couldn't agree more. And ultimately, that's what makes this deep dive so compelling. It's not just about debunking myths surrounding reality TV prize money, though that's certainly part of it. It's about exploring the broader implications of fame, opportunity, and the choices we make when faced with unexpected crossroads in life.
So as we wrap up, what's the biggest takeaway you hope our listener walks away with today?
I think the key takeaway here is the importance of looking beyond the surface, whether it's a reality TV show, a news headline, or even our own personal aspirations. There's always more to the story than meets the eye. Take the time to understand the nuances, the complexities, and the different perspectives at play.
It's about asking questions, challenging assumptions, and forming our own informed opinions.
Exactly. And who knows, you might just uncover a hidden treasure trove of insights along the way.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the fascinating world of AGT and the multifaceted journeys of its winners. Remember, the real show begins when the cameras stop rolling.